Manifestation doesn't end when love arrives. This is where it deepens. And in this video, I'm going to explore with you the 7 key lessons that I've learned in the 7-year relationship that I have been in that helped us to keep growing together, to not lose love again after I've manifested it, and to maintain that romance and the love and the adventure together and growing closer together every single day. So if that's something that you love to learn more about, then stay around. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of On Purpose by Lynn. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Lynn and I share with you everything you need to know about personal growth and spirituality so that you can create your best life and so that you can rise to your fullest potential. If that's something that you're interested in, then make sure to subscribe. So let's dive right into today's 7 secrets, 7 things that I've learned in being in a loving romantic relationship for 7 years. And stay until the end because the last one is going to be the most powerful. So the first one is that love requires awareness. Once you manifested love, it doesn't mean that suddenly all patterns within you where you felt lacking or you were afraid that someone would leave you, abandon you, would suddenly disappear. So what happens is that a lot of people start sabotaging after they've manifested this thing because they haven't really integrated this part of them that feels worthy of love, of staying in love and for really deserving that, right? So what we need to look out for is that when we have manifested love, that we stay aligned with the love energy and we don't fall back into old patterns. And what does that mean? That conscious love or love requires awareness, presence, and conscious attention. Now, the second thing that I learned in being in a loving relationship is never assume that you know them. And I don't mean to say that you do not know them, but I'm saying this because after being together for a while, right? Especially, after the first 2 or 3 years, which is like where everything just starts flowing naturally, you're in love and everything is great. There will come a phase where the danger is that you think that you know them. And I just saw 333. So for someone who's watching, that's a message or a confirmation for you. The danger is that we think that we know them and that we know everything about them. But the fact is that everyone is always changing, evolving, and sometimes you will get to know things about someone that you never knew. So always stay open, always stay curious about your partner and put effort into rediscovering each other. Don't fall into autopilot and allow yourself and allow them to evolve together. And deepen your love together through curiosity and asking each other questions. The third thing that I learned in love is how to keep the love alive. Now, the biggest thing that I'm so grateful for, that I 100% believe is the reason why we are still together and that we still love each other so much and that this continues to grow, is because we don't live a life where we're constantly based in the same routines. We do travel a lot. We do a lot of fun things together. We move from place to place. So usually we would spend 6 months in winter in the mountains in the French Alps, and then the other 6 months we stay in a tropical country like Bali. And so we travel and change routines a lot, and therefore we never truly fall into routines that keeps us stuck in autopilot, that allows us to not communicate or to start living different lives. Because what I see so often happening with people who just, you know, they live in a place that, you know, where they stay whole year round and where they just have their 9-to-5 jobs, you know, it becomes a routine. You go to work, you get home, every day it's basically the same. Maybe on Friday or Saturday you go out, but it's very monotone. And I don't know if that's an English word, I know we use it in Dutch. Continue to do fun things together, continue to go on adventure, explore new places, do fun activities together. And even when you're at home, try to not fall into the thing where you don't talk, right? Create and curate a time together where you can rediscover each other, where you can do fun things together, where you keep that love alive. You know, we love surfing, so we often go on adventures and we love surfing. We're each other's playmates, you know, as well. So that's just really fun, where we get to play and connect on a different level. So that's something that you definitely have to keep doing to keep the love alive. The last thing to that point is that joy is where you bond. So anything where you experience joy together is where you bond and where you can just strengthen the love relationship that you have with each other. Now the fourth secret is more about you. It's more about who you are in relationship to being together. So the fourth secret is how to not lose yourself in love. What I often see happening is that within love, there's one person that's more dominant and one person that's more pleasing. I see this in many relationships, and it's so important that in order to keep healthy love and to keep your love alive and not to feel like you give a lot but then you don't receive, is that you need to stay grounded with your needs. Answer your needs always first. And love is always about giving and taking, right? But it shouldn't be something where it's only giving, 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 or only taking, taking, taking. It's always also keeping your own cup full in the first place and respecting yourself and loving yourself enough to answer to your own needs. And then the other thing is, with this, is don't expect your partner to fill up a void within you, right? We need to learn to give to ourselves what we need so that we don't start to, if our partner cannot fill that void within us, we start blaming them and thinking that they need to change, right? And I see that happening so often. And you know, sometimes I'm for no means perfect at this. Sometimes I see it with myself too. And then I'm like, wait, Lynn, that's not right. I cannot force Migo to do this for me just because I need it and I feel entitled. No, I need to give that to myself. And then once you give things to yourself, you suddenly feel like, oh, you know, I don't need you to be something anymore for me. Now I start loving you for who you are and who I am as two separate individuals being one together. What now happens is, because you're not looking for someone to complete you and to fill that void, you start seeing them as being whole and you start feeling whole yourself. And so this is what you start to reflect in each other, and this is what keeps the love healthy and sustainable. The fifth secret is that communication is key. Oh my goodness. I see so many people, and I've noticed this, when you don't communicate, whatever you need, whatever you feel, when you stop communicating with each other just because the daily burdens of life becomes too heavy or too much to deal with, or we start to assume that we know everything about someone, so you can start to live your own internal lives. And when you stop communicating, you basically stop investing in each other and you stop growing together. And so it's so important that you need to express your feelings without blaming someone. And in the previous secret where I talked about how to not lose yourself in love, I talked about, you know, when you don't feel your own needs first, you start blaming someone for not giving it to you. The same is with communication. If you do not communicate what you need, or if you do not communicate how you feel, and you expect someone to smell what you feel, and you start blaming them, it's just not fair, because you didn't warn them, you didn't give them a heads up, and suddenly, instead of this being a normal conversation that you could be having where you can grow closer to each other, it starts becoming a thing where you start blaming each other and you start separating from each other. So it's so important to avoid these kind of blow-ups in your relationship. And then within communication, it's also so important that it doesn't become one-sided. Just because I feel something and I need something doesn't mean that they are not in the picture anymore and that I become entitled. It's always a two-way thing. So whenever I feel something and the other person feels something about that or has a different experience, we need to stay open to each other, right? And that's so important, that you stay open and that there's space for the two of you to coexist with your two different experiences and to talk about it and to communicate and to start to understand each other and being curious about that with each other. Then the third thing is being vulnerable. Being vulnerable can be scary, especially if we haven't learned how to do that, especially when we've grown up guarding our heart. But without vulnerability, there's no true connection. So we need to be able to be vulnerable with each other and to open our hearts and to show the most vulnerable parts. Because whenever you're able to do that, I've always noticed that there's such magical thing happening when you open up and be vulnerable and someone can receive you and it can be there with you and you can have that for each other. It just strengthens the relationship so much. It creates emotional intimacy and creates real closeness within the relationship. And the sixth secret is how to grow together, but also grow individually. And I do want to mention, before I dive into this secret, is that I filmed a part 1 of this series of how to manifest love and my own love success stories and the key takeaways of that and how you can do that step by step. So if that's something that you're currently looking for or want to manifest in your life, then I'm going to link that video in the link in the description below or in this card somewhere here so you can find it there. Check out that video as well and then come back to this one. So, sixth secret, grow together but also grow individually. So personal and spiritual growth is a non-negotiable. Whenever you're together with someone, for example, the person that I was 7 years ago is not the person who I am today anymore. The person that Migo was 7 years ago isn't the person that he is today anymore. And it's so important that we don't become stuck in, you know, our old habits. And I cannot expect him to be the person that I fell in love with then, and he cannot expect me to be the exact person that he fell in love with then. So it's so important that you have space for personal and spiritual growth, that you keep continuing growing personally, spiritually, that you do courses together, or you just have deep conversations together, or you exchange ideas, and you also keep on rediscovering each other. The thing with this is that if one person stagnates, when one person stagnates in growing, it's really easy to start feeling like, ooh, suddenly we're not a fit anymore. And that goes both ways, right? And in my relationship, we also really had to talk about these things, and we needed to rediscover each other. And eventually, you know, you start, if there's an openness in both, then you start growing closer to each other again, and you start growing personally and together. And so it's so important that there is an openness to growth from both people. And a third thing about this growing together is to keep inspiring each other and to keep seeing the best in each other, right? If I keep seeing the best in my current partner, if I keep seeing the best in Migo and he does that with me, we mirror the best versions of each other towards each other. And for me personally, he has always done that for me. And I just love that he feels so confident in me and has always felt so supportive and confident in me, even if I didn't see it myself. And this is such a great thing to have in your relationship that you want to foster for each other, is to trigger and inspire that growth in each other. And so the seventh secret, and the last one, is so important. I just talked about how important it is to both grow spiritually and personally, but even if one person decides to do something, so grow in or learn about something, doesn't mean that the other person needs to do it too. It's so important that we don't start projecting what we want from another person onto the other person, because you still need to respect from each other that you both have specific timing in your life, and that you cannot always do things together or grow in exactly the same way together. And you have to respect that someone will do something when they feel it's aligned and when they feel that they're ready. And also, if they don't do it, you still love them for who they are. Because that's so important, that you have that respect for each other. And this is one of the biggest things that I maybe feel is one of the most important ones. It may not be the most obvious one, but to me, and I see this in so many people, where certain people start to spiritually awaken, or they start growing, developing themselves, and then suddenly they start projecting on their partner, telling them everything that they're doing wrong and that they are so much better. And I also, and I'm not how do you say that, judging this, because I've also witnessed this within myself. And then I had to think, wait a minute, why do I feel entitled to say that, you need to do this thing? No, it's about loving each other fully, unconditionally, with where you are, exactly how you are. That doesn't mean that you cannot trigger each other to grow, but it shouldn't be a thing where you start to projecting what you think is best and what you think needs to change. Often, when you let go of that, it's an internal thing, right? It's something within you that maybe can change and adjust. So love is not a projection, it's a collaboration. It's something that you do together, and there's space for both of you to exist and to coexist, and you do not need to be the same. Right? You do not need to walk the same path, but you can inspire that for each other. So it's not about controlling or trying to fix the other person. It's always looking inwards and saying, maybe I need something, right? Maybe there's something that I need. How can I give it to myself first? And if you really grow into different ways and there's no way of you growing together, then maybe that's where it ends. But I do feel like love is about giving each other space to exist. And if you work on all those fundamental things that I previously shared, I'm pretty confident that this is a recipe for success. For some people, being 7 years together is very long. For some people, it's very short. It depends on where you are. Maybe you've been married for years and years and years and years, But this is what I've learned so far, and I feel like these are pretty deep lessons that will help you to keep love once you've manifested it. Again, don't forget to check out part 1 if you haven't already, to manifest and attract the love in your life. And if you have liked this video, please like this video, share this video with anyone who you think could benefit from this message right now. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, be sure to do so, as you will be the first to watch every Sunday when I upload a video. Hit that notification bell button so you will get notified. It's free, it doesn't cost anything. I also recently upgraded my Lightworker merchandise. I'm so excited about how it turned out. You can check it in the link in the description below. It has all conscious messages, and I just feel like when you're wearing this merchandise, you're bringing out the message of love, awakening, without it being too obvious, so I love that. And don't forget that I do have a podcast If you do not want to watch these videos and you just want to listen to content like this, I have my own podcast, which is called the Returning Home Podcast with Lynn Lim. You can check it out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or I have a playlist on here with my podcast episodes where you can check them out all together and just binge listen to all of them. And that's it for today. The last thing I want to mention is that I also have a lot of playlists, so go over to my YouTube channel and watch those playlists, as the YouTube algorithm will not always recommend the videos that you might want to listen to. So just want to put that out there. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, we have such an exciting future to look forward to, even if it doesn't seem like it right now. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. Bye for now.